just something I've always promised myself I would do. I joined the military for free college, and I made promises to myself I would do it. So I kept my promise. It took me forever and a day, but I kept my promise. But, I've got an 18-year-old son about to go off to college, and there's all this pressure to know who and what you want to be. But you're going to change your mind so many times, and that's okay.
Amen. Welcome to the Risk Never Sleeps podcast, in which we talk to the folks that are on the front lines protecting patient safety and delivering patient care. I'm Ed Gaudet, the host of our program, and today I am pleased to be joined by Cari Daniels, the Senior Information Security Analyst at UNC Healthcare. Welcome, Cari.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. And so let's start off with learning a little more about your role and your organization.
Absolutely. UNC Healthcare is a pretty big healthcare system here in North Carolina. I think there are about 11 hospitals, 13 or so campuses, and I lose track how many clinics. I think we're close to 1,000 or more clinics. So we're a pretty big healthcare system. I came into UNC. I was a network engineer at a rural hospital here in the state, and they went under a managed services agreement, which is how I came to be an analyst with UNC.
All right. And what's your typical day look like as an information security analyst?
So our information security analyst role is broad. We all have teams within our team. You've got your technical security folks in our entity, and even our entity is broken into smaller teams. The team that I am on, we focus primarily on policies, standards, risk assessments, contracts. We work very closely with our privacy office. Our lines tend to blur sometimes. And that's our primary focus. And we do a lot of work also with our partners at the university.
Excellent. And how did you get into healthcare IT?
Honestly, it's not a very, exciting story. Again, I live in a small rural town in North Carolina, and I took a network engineering position at our local hospital. It's very hard to find good IT jobs where I'm at. Everybody's in Raleigh. I'm about an hour east of Raleigh. I got lucky. I interviewed and they wanted me. Thank you. And I've been with UNC since 15 years.
Excellent.
In August.
You were in the Navy, I see. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Did you do IT in the Navy as well?
I did. When I first joined up, we were called radioman, and then they split that field. Some people went into satellite communications, and some of us went over IT. And I had a knack for it. I liked it. Did a lot of work with NATO and joint forces. So my career was not a typical Navy career. Senior chiefs and such might get upset that I've never been on a boat, but I had a lot of good experience, and it just kind of propelled me to where I am today.
Excellent. And when you think about policy and governance, you mentioned those two things. How do you think about artificial intelligence? It seems to be the topic of the day. What are you doing? What are your teams doing in that area, if anything?
UNC is doing quite a bit, and I want to be careful on how much I divulge, but our enterprise analytics data science team, they run with it. They've developed a framework, and they're doing a fantastic job. The security office, we consult, and I know our CISO sits on a lot of the governance committees for that. I'm not quite as involved with the AI yet, but we regulate that very closely. Like I said, our team, our analytics, data science analytics team has really moved. They're impressive with everything that they've done, the frameworks they've established, the work that they're doing, and they move so fast. Lightning speed. They're so great with it. And we're just doing everything we can to stay on that cutting edge of technology, but securely.
It's crazy how fast AI in particular is moving.
It's very fast, and security analysts, we're we like to move slow. So it's been fun and interesting, but we have such a strong team. It's impressive.
Yeah, very good. As you look at your team and your overall strategy and program, what are your top 3 priorities or strategic initiatives over the next couple of years?
Wow. I think for my area, just to speak in my small space, we just finished our SOC 2 Type 1, which was a big deal. We are actively working towards the Type 2 now. It's definitely a top priority. We're switching a lot over from an ISO-based framework to a NIST-based framework and trying to align ourselves kind of with more of the federal standards. You try to predict the future. It looks like there could be some change coming our way, at the federal level, looking at the executive orders that kind of keep coming out.
Yes.
So, for my area within our security office, that's my direct focus. I think as a whole, research, we're a teaching hospital, so research is a big initiative. AI has been a big initiative, and just establishing that cohesiveness between us and the university and just being a well-oiled machine. But my space is a lot smaller. I look at a very small section of all of our efforts.
Okay, good. And then anything you can share with listeners in terms of your decision? You said you went from NIST or from ISO to NIST. Any insight into why you did that, or sort of what your learnings were, or?
I think I'm a little more biased towards NIST just because my graduate school experience, that was all based on federal privacy law and things like that, and it's all NIST based. If you look at our executive orders, like the federal networks, the Critical Infrastructure Act, that's a partnership with federal government, right? Healthcare is critical infrastructure. Federal government, what do they use? They use NIST, FedRAMP. To me, it just makes sense. If they start making changes to the HIPAA security rule, they start to, make statutes to force in critical infrastructure specifically, or healthcare, especially after change into these cybersecurity rules. If I had to predict out a crystal ball, I would say they're going to say NIST as their framework. That's their area of expertise. They've developed it. And I just think it's easier. It's just an easier framework to get on board with. Even doing our SOC work, everything we're doing with NIST aligned very well with the requirements we needed for our SOC attestation. And I just think it's the way to go.
That's great.
In my opinion.
No, that's good. That's good insight. That harmonization and that alignment with the regulations is a really good way to think about it, especially in light of, like you said, the recent administrative announcements regarding the cybersecurity performance goals, the CPGs,
the reporting,
the opening up most likely of HIPAA, and the security rule, which may or may not subsume those CPGs over time, right? Or they may stand on their own. So, no, that's really good. That's a really good way to think about it. What keeps you up at night? I'm sure a lot.
Oh, Lord. AI is one that keeps me up at night for sure. The unknowns to me. Obviously, I don't work on the technical side of security anymore. I've kind of removed myself and have moved more into the regulatory side. So I feel like I'm always kind of playing catch up sometimes with new technology. So that is just a personal thing that I know I need to be better with. The other thing that keeps me up at night is vendors and integrations, sharing. I don't like to share. I wish we could stay in our bubble, but that's just not feasible in healthcare anymore. Those are my fears. So, I think we have a very strong security program. We have leaders who invest in our security program and who back us 110%. And I know I know there's a lot of security professionals that can't always say that. So I'm thankful for that. That helps me sleep. But I mean, there's always going to be an area of risk. It's the unknown. It's, the saying is, it's not a matter of if, it's when, all of those things are in your head. Are you doing everything? Are you, you can't just set your security posture for a day and leave it. It's something you need to monitor and change all the time.
Yeah.
So.
I remember when we could do that, we could actually set it, and it may change twice every year at the most.
Can't do that anymore. You have to monitor all that threat intelligence and make adjustments almost daily. So, I think even though I'm not a management position, I'm an executive, I take a lot of pride in our organization. And so I never want to see us on the front page. I want to do what I can to keep us from being on the front page. So that would keep me up at night. And, there's always room for improvement. So I'm not going to speak specifically to rooms of improvement, but there's always areas that'll keep you up.
Excellent. Outside of your current day job, outside of healthcare and IT and cyber, what are you most passionate about? What would you be doing if you weren't doing this job? Any hobbies or?
I love fitness. I think if I wasn't doing this job, I'd be a gym junkie. And I follow my kids around everywhere, traveling sport parent. So there's that. But I think even if I had the freedom to not work, I'd still probably be doing some sort of cybersecurity or data privacy, at least part-time, because I do love it. I'm passionate about it. Specifically, I'm passionate about Fourth Amendment protections and technology, which is outside the realm of healthcare. If I had the time, I would possibly join maybe some interest groups or do some volunteer work on something with that. But
cool.
That would probably be it. Pretty boring. After serving in the military, I'm okay sitting at home reading a book. Okay.
I subscribe to that. I know. I was in the field artillery for 8 years, and
I was gone all those years, and I'm ready to just be home.
Never a dull moment. So, which is a nice segue into the riskiest thing you've ever done.
I know.
Basic training, right?
I think I was too young and naive to realize that, and I'm a very shy, introverted person, believe it or not. I actually didn't mind it. The riskiest thing, I've really struggled to come up with an example because, again, my friends have nicknamed me the safety police. I am the one that keeps us within all confines of the law. We do everything the right way. Rules are meant to be followed.
Every friend group needs a safety police.
I'm the safety police. I would say I've had a lot of knee surgeries and I still do stupid things. I still like Tough Mudders or Spartans or trying to play soccer with my kids when I'm old and broken. But as far as something like interesting, that's risky, I just can't think of it. I am pretty boring.
I wouldn't say that, but no, that's good. Well, again, your Navy career aside, is I'm sure there were a lot of things that were quote unquote risky through that experience.
That whole war thing, that was fun, but even then, you don't realize when you're young, you just go and you don't think about it. So my parents were ready to kill me. That was probably risky. I joined when my parents were out of town and told them when they came home. My mom.
You are a risk taker. Look at that.
that my mom didn't kill me, and that was probably my biggest risk because she was pretty angry. But no, I'll be honest, I wanted to go to school and not have student debt. That was the driving force for me. But it ended up probably being one of the best decisions I've ever made. I had a great time in. great friends, no regrets. I regret maybe how I did it behind my parents' back. Was probably not the greatest way to do that, but
it's a great experience, isn't it? It's like because I fought it. I didn't want to go. I had to go for a couple of reasons, but it was the best decision. And quite frankly, I probably wouldn't be here right now if it hadn't gone through the.
Exactly. And I'm very cautious, but once I make a decision, I've made it and I run with it. And that's what I did.
Excellent. So we're on a desert island together, and you've got 5 albums that you brought with you, or movies. What would they be?
I would bring books. I love to read.
All right. Well, then now you have to share. What are you reading with our listeners and with me? Because I'm a voracious reader. I usually have like 5 books going at once. So what are you reading?
I read mind-numbing fiction, something I don't have to think about, that I can get lost in. Mm-hmm. So after a stressful day, if I watch TV or whatnot, my brain is still turning and I'm still nervous or trying to do something different. But when I get a good fiction book that can take me into the story, I relax, I sleep better. That's kind of my escape, as boring as that sounds. It's either exercise or it's books. There's if I'm watching TV, it's nothing I would want to tell the world what I'm watching, because it's going to be something mind-numbing and not educational.
The Love Island program or Bachelorette? I watch those.
Not quite that far, but close. Very close to that.
I'm a big fan of Love Island. I have 3 daughters, and they got me hooked on this Love Island show. So it's just...
When you're writing documents all day, you don't want anything that requires a lot of brain power. You're ready to just kind of go into an alternate universe. But
absolutely.
Reading, I would choose a book. I don't do movies because I am always moving. I've got a pen in my hand because I'm always moving. It's not easy for me to sit still. So, but if you give me a book, I can sit there for hours.
The movie experience too has changed. I went to a movie last night, as it turned out, with one of my daughters, and it's a new movie called Long Legs, and it's a horror thriller.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah. So I was very anxious within 5 minutes of watching this movie, and for the next 2 hours, and I was also worried about my safety in the theater. Believe it or not,
different.
It's a weird feeling, mm-hmm. And everybody that was coming and going, I was like sort of noticing while the movie was happening, which I've never really experienced before. So that was kind of an interesting experience.
I think I'm like that anywhere I go now. Yeah. Always looking, watching, paying attention to my surroundings.
A lot more vigilant than they were like 20 years ago, I think.
Had talks with my son. Don't walk to your car on your phone. Make sure you're looking up. We'll let people see you as not paying attention. I doubt he's listening to me. I'm sure he's texting the whole time he's watching for that car. But, you try to tell everyone the importance of that. And it's a different world than when we were kids.
That's right. Okay, so now you can go back in time and see your 20-year-old self. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
That you don't know anything. You think you know everything, but you don't. I joined the military with the intention of being a forensic psychologist, wanting to work for the FBI, and then I end up in IT. And just, I turned 40 and I go back to grad school for a legal degree. Totally different.
That's a risk right there. You just look at you risk taker.
That was just something I've always promised myself I would do. I joined the military for free college, and I made promises to myself I would do it. So I kept my promise. It took me forever and a day, but I kept my promise. But, I've got an 18-year-old son about to go off to college, and there's all this pressure to know who and what you want to be, but you're going to change your mind so many times, and that's okay.
Amen.
You may make 3 career choices, and I think nowadays, switching jobs is some of the only ways to climb the ladder, if that's your intention, and that's okay too. And to just be patient and make your choices based on happiness. Let happiness drive those career choices. Because if you don't love what you do, you're just gotta be passionate. You gotta be passionate about what you do. One thing with UNC, when they gave me I couldn't find a cybersecurity job where I lived. I live out of the country. And when we came under their umbrella and they absorbed all of us IT folks, and I said, my undergrad is in cybersecurity, and I said, do you have a position? And they gave me a chance, and I will forever appreciate that. The chance that they gave me, it was the driving one of the main reasons I went back to graduate school. They showed me a whole nother side on the security platform with governance, risk, compliance that I think I liked it so much because I didn't know it. I'd sit in these meetings, I don't know what anybody's talking about. I need to figure this out. And that was a big motivator. And I'll be forever grateful that they gave me that opportunity. They took a bet on me. And it kind of reignited that passion. I was getting kind of burnt out and bored with the technical stuff, 2 a.m. calls if something broke. And this new position has challenged me. I'm green. I'm new at it. Figuring it out as I go. I've never written policies before. And I like it. I like getting to know everybody. Even the SOC audits, you think you know everything about what you're doing, and then you get into these audits and these third-party attestations, and it's fun. It's eye-opening. You're like, oh, look, that's something we can fix and change it this way. Or it's just reignited the excitement for what I do.
Yeah, really. It gives you this unique visibility into business and the connection and impact of technology that you wouldn't otherwise get. So yeah, that's a really good point. And I love your your discussion about, the conversations you're having with your son. And so as you think about, as the last question, as you think about giving advice to other, folks that are either going into college or coming out of school, looking for a cyber job, what advice would you give them?
Internships. You can't get a cyber job without experience. Maybe you can, but I have a friend of mine whose son just recently graduated about a year ago, and it's been a struggle because he doesn't have that experience. Take the internships and take as many as you can and get all that as much experience as you could put down on paper to help get your foot in the door somewhere, because I think experience is invaluable, and I think that experience will give you an edge over other graduates from your class, vying for the same position. There's a shortage for cybersecurity professionals. Everybody's been pretty outspoken about that. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I have found it hard for younger new grads to find positions, and I know they're needed. So internships. It's one thing to learn things in the classroom. It's another to go and do that. Even if the internship is fixing computers, it's experience. And when you're working in security, it's not, even an entry-level cybersecurity job, in my opinion, is not entry-level. You're expected to know how servers work, how networks work, how the workstation works, how you can tie all that together, how the data is transversing your network. Take the internships and networking and user support, server administration. It does not have to say security in the title for it to benefit you, and learning how this technology works.
I love that. It's great, solid foundational advice to begin a career. So, Cari, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. Good to meet you. This is Ed Gaudet from the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. If you're on the front lines protecting patient safety and delivering patient care, remember to stay vigilant, because risk never sleeps.